Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Was the gold rush just about getting rich, or did it change America forever? This question challenges the popular image of eager prospectors chasing fortune in the hills of California. While the promise of gold did draw hundreds of thousands in search of wealth, the true impact of the gold rush runs far deeper than just sudden riches. It was a turning point in American history, reshaping the nation's economy, accelerating westward expansion, intensifying conflicts over land and race, and even pushing the United States toward the Civil War. In this video, we'll go beyond the glittering surface of gold to uncover the sweeping historical consequences of this pivotal event. In January 1848, on the edge of the American frontier, a life-altering discovery was made at Sutter's Mill near Coloma, California. James W. Marshall, a carpenter working for Swiss settler John Sutter, noticed shiny flakes in the American River. At first, he wasn't entirely sure what he had found, but tests soon confirmed it was gold. Marshall's discovery, though accidental, would set off a chain reaction that no one could have predicted. At first, Sutter and Marshall tried to keep the find a secret, fearing that a gold rush would ruin their plans for agricultural development. But secrets like this don't stay buried long. Word quickly spread among workers, and within weeks, whispers of gold began circulating throughout the region. Local communities were the first to respond, with nearby settlers and native Californians rushing to the site in hopes of striking it rich. These early days were marked by a sense of curiosity and chaos, as men abandoned farms, shops, and homes to try their luck. What began as a local event was about to explode into a global phenomenon. By 1849, the gold discovery at Sutter's Mill had transformed from a local curiosity into a full-blown global event. News of the discovery traveled slowly at first, but once it reached the East Coast and other parts of the world, the response was overwhelming. Tens of thousands of people, later known as the 49ers, began pouring into California, each one dreaming of striking it rich. These fortune seekers came from all walks of life: farmers, merchants, laborers, and they came not only from across the United States, but also from Latin America, Europe, Australia, and even as far as China. California became a destination for hope, ambition, and desperation. The journey itself was often grueling, whether by land across the treacherous western trails or by sea around Cape Horn, or through the Isthmus of Panama. But the promise of gold was strong enough to drive people through extreme hardships. As a result, California's population exploded almost overnight. Nowhere was this more evident than in San Francisco. In just a year, the sleepy coastal settlement transformed into a bustling city. What had been a small village of a few hundred residents suddenly swelled into a chaotic boomtown with tens of thousands of people, teeming with opportunity, crime, and constant movement. The gold rush wasn't just a moment, it was a powerful wave that reshaped the human landscape of the American West. The gold rush brought an extraordinary mix of people to California, creating one of the most rapid and diverse migrations in American history. Americans from the East came in droves, but they were joined by thousands of others from around the world: Chinese miners escaping poverty and war, Mexicans with experience in mining, Europeans seeking new beginnings, and Australians, lured by tales of instant fortune. Mining camps became rough, multicultural spaces where people of different languages, customs, and backgrounds worked side by side, at least in theory. In practice, the sudden diversity led to rising racial tension and social conflict. White American miners often viewed non-white and foreign miners as competitors and threats. This hostility quickly gave way to open discrimination. Foreign miners, particularly the Chinese, were frequently subjected to violence, forced out of claims, or taxed heavily under laws like the foreign miners' tax. Mexicans and Latin Americans were also targeted, despite many having legal rights under previous treaties. These policies and attitudes laid the foundation for systemic racism in the West that would persist long after the gold rush had ended. But no group suffered more profoundly than Native Americans. As miners and settlers flooded into California, indigenous communities were displaced from their lands at an alarming rate. Rivers were polluted, hunting grounds destroyed, and villages overrun. Violence against Native peoples escalated rapidly, sometimes random, sometimes organized, with state-sanctioned militias carrying out massacres. Diseases brought by newcomers further devastated native populations, which declined sharply during this period. The gold rush didn't just bring change. For many native communities, it brought destruction. The promise of gold had a dark underside, one that reshaped California's social fabric through conflict, exclusion, and tragedy. The gold rush didn't just fuel dreams of individual wealth, it jump-started California's economy and had far-reaching effects on the entire nation. As gold flowed out of the rivers and into the pockets of miners, it quickly circulated into new businesses, services, and infrastructure. Merchants, not miners, often made the real fortunes. The sudden population boom created instant demand for everything: food, clothing, tools, transportation, which gave rise to boomtowns almost overnight. Small settlements ballooned into bustling commercial hubs, while entrepreneurs seized the wise moment to build their fortunes. But with every boom came the risk of bust. Many of these mining towns were temporary. When gold ran dry or richer veins were discovered elsewhere, entire communities were abandoned, turning once thriving towns into eerie ghost towns scattered across the California landscape. A reminder of the gold rush's fleeting promises. Nationally, the gold rush pumped enormous wealth into the American economy. The gold extracted in California helped fund the expansion of the national banking system and contributed to major infrastructure projects, especially the growing railroad network that would eventually unite the East and West. It gave a financial push to a young, industrializing America and cemented California's economic importance. The era also saw the birth of several business empires that are still recognizable today. Levi Strauss began selling durable denim trousers to miners, pants tough enough to endure the harsh conditions of gold country. Wells Fargo was founded during the gold rush to provide secure banking and express delivery services to remote and risky regions. These companies were built not just on gold, but on understanding the needs of those chasing it. The gold rush was more than a mad scramble for treasure. It was the launch pad for California's economic engine and a pivotal force in shaping America's financial future. While the gold rush brought economic prosperity to many, it came at a heavy cost to the environment, one that California still grapples with today. The sheer scale of mining activity led to massive deforestation as trees were cut down to build mining camps, fuel fires, and clear land. Rivers and streams, once vital ecosystems, became choked with debris and toxic runoff from mining operations. Sediment clouded the water, and chemicals like mercury, used to extract gold from ore, poisoned aquatic life, creating a chain reaction of ecological damage. Perhaps the most destructive method introduced during the gold rush was hydraulic mining. This technique involved blasting entire hillsides with high-pressure jets of water to wash away soil and expose gold buried beneath. It was fast, effective, and devastating. Hydraulic mining stripped away vast stretches of land, turning lush hills into barren, muddy wastelands. The enormous amounts of sediment and debris it created clogged rivers, caused flooding in downstream towns, and buried fertile farmland under layers of silt. The long-term effects of these environmental practices were profound. Entire landscapes were permanently altered, and many of California's rivers never fully recovered. What was seen at the time as progress and innovation eventually led to legal battles and environmental reform. In fact, hydraulic mining became one of the first environmental controversies in U.S. history, leading to court rulings in the late 1800s that restricted its use. The gold rush left scars not only on California's history, but also on its land, scars that serve as a stark reminder of the environmental price of unchecked resource exploitation. The gold rush didn't just reshape California's economy and landscape. It dramatically accelerated its path to statehood and reshaped the political landscape of the United States. Before gold was discovered, California was a sparsely populated territory with little infrastructure. But by 1850, thanks to the influx of people and wealth brought by the gold rush, California's population had exploded, and its importance to the Union could no longer be ignored. In an unusually rapid move, California bypassed the traditional territorial phase and was admitted directly into the Union as the 31st state. However, California's admission wasn't just about gold and growth, it had enormous political consequences. As part of the Compromise of 1850, California entered the Union as a free state, upsetting the delicate balance between free and slave states in Congress. This ignited fierce debate over the expansion of slavery into new Western territories. Southern politicians feared that the growing power of free states would threaten the institution of slavery, while Northern leaders saw California's statehood as a victory for anti-slavery forces. The gold rush also intensified the idea of manifest destiny, the belief that the United States was destined to expand from coast to coast. This expansionist spirit brought with it a deepening divide between North and South over what kind of society the new territories would support. The rapid changes sparked by the gold rush made it clear that the country was on an irreversible path toward conflict. Though the gold rush seemed at first to be a story of opportunity and progress, it also played a quiet but powerful role in fanning the flames of sectionalism, flames that would erupt a decade later into the Civil War. The gold rush holds a powerful place in American memory, but much of what people believe about it is shaped more by myth than reality. The most enduring myth is the idea of instant wealth, that ordinary people could simply arrive in California, dip a pan into a stream, and strike it rich. While a few did find fortune, the vast majority of miners faced grueling labor, harsh conditions, and crushing disappointment. Many left with less than they arrived with, while others found themselves trapped in debt. The real winners were often not the miners, but the merchants, bankers, and entrepreneurs who capitalized on their needs. Despite the harsh reality, the gold rush became deeply woven into the cultural fabric of the United States. It helped cement ideas like manifest destiny, the belief that Americans were destined to expand westward across the continent, and reinforced the romantic image of the rugged pioneer, independent, courageous, and endlessly hopeful. This spirit of adventure and self-reliance still echoes in the national identity today, shaping how Americans view opportunity, risk, and the frontier. Yet many misconceptions about the gold rush persist, often still taught in classrooms or repeated in popular culture. Stories frequently overlook the discrimination faced by immigrants, the suffering of Native Americans, or the environmental destruction it caused. The complexity of the era is flattened into tales of triumph and fortune. In reality, the gold rush was a defining moment that reshaped not only California but also the nation's trajectory, full of ambition, conflict, and consequences that are often left out of the simplified narrative. Its legacy is more than gold. It's a mirror of America's deepest hopes and contradictions. The gold rush was far more than a wild scramble for gold. It was a turning point that left a lasting imprint on the American story. It triggered one of the largest migrations in U.S. history, transforming California from a remote frontier into a booming multicultural society almost overnight. Economically, it fueled the rise of major industries, financed national infrastructure, and laid the groundwork for California's powerful role in the nation. Politically, it accelerated California's statehood and added fuel to the already burning debate over slavery and expansion, pushing the country closer to civil war. Environmentally, it scarred the land with pollution, deforestation, and irreversible damage, reminders of how quickly ambition can clash with nature. In the end, the gold rush was more than a hunt for riches. It reshaped a continent. It revealed the promise and peril of the American dream, exposing both the opportunities and the costs of rapid growth. Its legacy lives on not just in ghost towns or history books, but in the very foundation of modern America. If you found this deep dive into the gold rush eye-opening, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more fascinating stories from history. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What surprised you the most about the gold rush? Drop a comment below and let's start a conversation. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.